All right, welcome to the next episode of the Ramblin Rebels podcast. This is going to be episode 17,
Correct.
and today I'm here with Noah and Coach Marty.
How you doing,
today?
Marty?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks
Wonderful.
for inviting me.
So, being who are you to the school? You're a baseball coach. You got a bunch of stuff going for you. You have like a legendary coaching career. So tell us a little bit about like what you do here.
Well, when I retired from Destrehan as full-time from my full-time retirement. I retired twice, but I got a call from Coach Timmy Bird to come over here to talk to him about possibly working with the baseball program. Coach Laborde had taken over the program for a year,
Right.
and I came in and assisted him for that first year. Then they asked me if I would consider coming over and being the athletic director. I told him that sounded like a good idea, and we worked out the details. So I was coming to Riverside to be the athletic director when the principal, Mr. Coburn, got
Terminated.
he got COVID,
Right.
and he was in the hospital. So I walked in the door, and they made me the principal. The school board guys were waiting there, and they said, "Hey, we really need you to do this." I said, "I don't know anything about Riverside. I don't know. I didn't even know the schedule of what time the day started." And they said, "But you're our guy, and we need you to do that." And for the next 6 months, I was the principal here at Riverside. And then baseball season came, and I said, "Guys, I need to spend a little bit more time with my team than I do need, And that's when Mr. Coburn came back from being in the hospital, and he took over back as principal, and I was the baseball coach and athletic director. Now, because of those duties, with Ms. Haas coming in, I've assumed some of the administrative duties of a high school advisor. Is what one of my titles is.
One of the many.
Athletic director, baseball coach, high school advisor. So.
Yeah.
And my thing was, I liked being the principal. That was fun. I enjoyed it, and I found out the kids here were fabulous. Because there were some things going on. You all were here. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we remember.
It was a strange time.
Very strange.
When you have arrows on the floor
Yeah.
and the hallways are cut in half and you have to stay 6 feet apart. And we told you all you could only take right turns.
Yeah, I remember that. You had to
Oh
make
my
a
God!
full loop
You had
around.
to go all the way down the hallway just to get to the class that was right next to you.
Yep.
I'm not even gonna lie. Sometimes I just jump across.
Well, actually, in the beginning, nobody did, because you all were afraid that we'd
Yeah.
send you home again.
Oh yeah.
And then as it progressed, and everybody started to, then we eased it. And we started cutting the little lines so you could make lefts. But just the fact that the student body did that was fabulous.
Yeah, that was.
I was amazed because
that was
you know,
amazing.
I consider Destrehan a pretty good public school.
Yeah.
No way they're doing that. No shot that we're going to do. They would follow directions like you all did, and that's when I knew this was a special place.
Yeah. So, being a part of a new family, would you say it's a lot different than it was at Destrehan?
Oh yeah. The graduating class at Destrehan had 450 kids.
Right.
They didn't even know each other.
Mm-hmm.
You're graduating together. You've been to school all your life together, and they don't even know each other.
Right.
You might know half of that.
Right.
If you might been in class with half of those guys.
Right.
So they didn't know each other, and other than athletics, and then, of course those are always team bonding.
Mm-hmm.
Now so to see this school of this size, as we speak, we have 196 high school students.
Mhm.
But the thing that impressed me the most was you all would be at lunch, and the little kids would be going to PE, and everybody knew.
Everybody knew each other.
Yeah,
Right.
you all know each
Yeah,
other. You
waving
grow up.
at the-
Little kids know the older ones. The older ones, they go hug up on the little ones,
Yeah.
and it just warms your heart.
It's a different whole
Yeah,
feel to the school.
It is, and
Yeah.
it's pretty special.
All right. So whenever you were going to high school, you didn't have an experience where you got really close to people. What were some people that was they always stuck by your side throughout high school and?
I was born in New Orleans, but I grew up in California.
Right.
Mhm.
My dad got transferred to California when I was very young, so from 3 years old to 17.
Transferred. What do you mean? What did he
worked
do?
for a SciTech, a big corporation.
Right.
And the thing about New Orleans is nobody ever wants to leave New Orleans. It's such a fabulous place to
Right.
live.
Yeah.
With all the festivals and all the things that go on, and it here is special to New Orleans.
Mhm.
You don't see that in other places.
No.
So, to go up a corporate ladder in a company, they told him the president and all the people that are here are never going to leave. So if you want to go up in the company, you're going to have to move somewhere. And they sent him to Anaheim. So at 3 years old, I left New Orleans and went to Anaheim. And then I went to San Francisco area, and that's where I spent most of my time. So my high school there was huge. I mean, look at the college
Right.
campus. If Destrehan is big, okay, and it's got 1,400 kids,
Right.
mine had 3,600 kids.
What
That's
what class were y'all in?
That was the largest one in California.
Like, what is that?
6.
That's 6A.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And
That's crazy.
and you know, we had 900 kids in our graduating class. Okay. Now I didn't.
Were all of the like schools in the area in California like that?
all big like that.
That's crazy.
All big. They were all big. The only private school was shared a fence line with us, and it was De La Salle of Concord, California, which is one of the top. Now, back then they didn't recruit, but now they're like one of the top teams.
Yeah, I've seen that
in
before.
the country. So that my high school was right there. Now, my senior year in high school, in October, my dad got transferred again to Chicago.
Okay. All over the place.
And it's like, do you leave in the middle of your senior year and go to another place? Or do you stay?
I mean,
That's a really hard choice.
I'm the youngest of 3 boys.
Uh-huh.
The other 2 were staying. My mom was boo-hooing. She didn't want to leave all her boys behind.
Mhm.
And I said, I was a good baseball player. I said,
Right.
if I'm a good baseball player in California, I'll be a good baseball player in Illinois. And I went. And I absolutely hated it.
It was nothing the same. It was.
Well, today, okay,
Mhm.
is the middle of March, right? It's
yeah, it
38
is
degrees.
March 16th.
It's 38 degrees in Chicago right now.
That's. Oh my gosh.
Okay, our baseball season started on April 5th. Okay, baseball season here starts in February.
Right.
It was just a miserable place to be. It was so cold, and the wind blew all the time. And so when I got an opportunity to come play for the University of New Orleans in baseball,
Went right back.
I was heading south, baby. Back to New Orleans again.
So where? What did you get like an offer for? Was it just for the University of New Orleans, or?
Well, I had 17 offers. I had many offers up there.
Uh-huh.
I had an opportunity to play for Notre Dame,
Mhm.
University of Michigan, U of I, University of Illinois.
Right.
There were plenty of offers there, but
But you
I
wanted
told them I
to
wasn't staying. And the two offers I got south were South Alabama and Mobile,
Mhm.
and and they were being coached at the time by a guy by the name of Eddie Stanky, who was in the Major League Hall of Fame.
Right.
Mm.
And then my coach at UNO was Ron Maestri, and he's in the American Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame. And we were in the top 10 in the country. We were LSU at that time.
Wow.
University of New Orleans was. Now, we were all snowbirds. He was bringing people from the Midwest
Mhm.
down to play in New Orleans, and they were coming in flocks. And we were very good. On the team I played on, I played there in 78 and 79. The team I played on, 13 guys played professional baseball.
Wow.
Really?
I was a junior college All-American coming here, and I was the big. In my mind, I was the big deal. I was the big Kahuna, baby. I was good. I got here, couldn't break the line.
So what'd you do after? Like, what'd you do after the baseball season was your last baseball season was over?
But when you realize that you're all your life, you said, "I'm going to be a major league player."
Mhm.
That's my goal. And all of a
Right.
sudden, you run into reality of not only are you not going to be a major league player, you couldn't even play on this major college team.
Right.
So you start to redirect.
Mhm.
And I knew I loved the game, and I wanted to stay. So that's when I started going towards coaching.
Okay.
And matter of fact, at the first school I coached at, I did my student teaching there, and they offered me a job.
Hmm.
They had won 7 games in 7 years. Wouldn't that be fun? To win 7 games in 7 years? My first year there, we won 7 games. My second year there, we won 13. And the principal called me, and we were 13 and 19. I'll never forget. He called me and said, "Man, you're doing a great job. with a little bit more hard work and some luck, we could be 500. And I need to leave this place. Because I would not be happy at 500.
Yeah.
We have to be better than that.
Right.
So I ended up going to O'Perry Walker in Algiers and had a lot of success there, and that kind of kick-started my career.
Right. So, after that, what did you do? After you went to Old Perry Walker?
I was at O'Perry Walker. I transferred to, I took a job at Hammond High.
Right.
To be the baseball coach and coach football. And I coached football for 20 years, all those years at Walker and all. We had very good programs.
Right.
Now, you all familiar with Carr and how successful Carr is.
100%.
Carr was our feeder.
Were
We
they?
were our junior high feeder school. So you can give you an idea how good
What you
we
mean?
were at Walker. It'd be like, here we have our own feeder. Obviously, we have our younger. Carr was a junior high, was 7th through 9th grade. Walker started in 10th grade. And the kids went from Carr to Walker.
So is Walker still a school? Like,
It went to Landry Walker later. Once Carr became a high school, it kind of, Walker couldn't survive.
right.
Because they lost, I mean, if you lose the people that are giving you the students,
Mm-hmm.
it's got, when they made Carr a high school, that kind of took care of Walker.
Right.
But, so I went to Hammond High for a year. I coached football. I was supposed to coach their baseball team. And my first wife told me that I was going to be leaving. She wanted a divorce. And I didn't want to be an absentee dad. So I took a job in St. Charles Parish with the Recreation Department. And I was a director of recreation there for 8 years. Loved it. Great job. Got to coach a lot of kids. Got to set programs. Got to help kids start. That's when I started working with little ones.
Mm-hmm.
Got to help them start their programs. And I really liked doing that. And I probably would have stayed. The guy I was working with, Rusty Rebo, ran for parish president, lost. And we all got fired. And they probably did me a favor because that sent me back to education.
Right.
And so I've been bouncing around. That first year I went to St. James. I coached over there for a year. Had some success. Destrehan asked me to come back into St. Charles Parish. And the next 20 years I was there. 14 years as a coach.
Right. You coached my dad at Destrehan. How was that?
How was Noah's dad specifically?
Specifically, Noah's dad.
Hey, the thing about Destrehan is there's so many kids
Right.
that you work that you have to work really hard to stay in the program.
Right.
The competition's inside, and that's what I'm trying to develop here.
Mm-hmm.
When I got here, we had 13 players.
Right.
You're not going to win with 13 players because they don't feel the pressure from inside to play better.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we've built the program. Okay, and it's now to the point where they're fighting to be on the field. When you have to fight to be on the field, then this team starts to improve. Because, I don't tell them, I don't worry about St. Martin's, I don't worry about Newman, I worry about you all fighting. If you all fight for the spots and you earn those spots, we'll take care of that. We'll win. We'll beat those teams.
Right.
We're going to be successful.
Right.
Once the competition is inside, not outside. If you're looking at, St. Charles for your competition, you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know.
And that's another thing Coach Lee has also brought to Riverside. Like, you're playing against the best players Monday through Thursday, and you just get to play a ball game on Friday.
And if you don't work hard, you won't play Friday.
Right.
Okay? You have to do the work. You have to put in the time. You have to stay focused here during the week, and then the game is the reward.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Everybody thinks, the game is, the game is fun. It's the work that goes in before the game that makes it fun.
Right.
It wasn't fun before. It wasn't fun when you were 2-8.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun when my first year here when we went 9-21. That wasn't fun. And I teased earlier in the year on an interview, when I said I directed our attention to the baseball attention to the softball team. They do a good job of making sure that they fight for their spots. Because you don't play well, somebody replaces you.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of thing that makes you play well. We're going to play well when we see an opponent. No, by then it's too late. You better have done the work during the week
Right.
and in the prep so that you play well. And the softball team has that competition inside that makes them so good when they get against other teams.
Right.
And I mean, right now, that's the team in here at Riverside that you have to emulate. You want to be like. The football team made great strides this year. Now they got to make great strides again next year.
Mm-hmm.
And they will, because of the direction and the leadership they have between Coach Lee and Coach Latchney. I know that program's going to go in the right direction. And as athletic director, that's my job, is to make sure it does.
Right.
And try to give them the support they need to be successful. And to take it to where they want, where we all want it to go, so we can be proud of it.
All right, that's great. So, having moved from here to California to Illinois, you've experienced a lot of different, you've had to experience a lot of different stories and different things that you have. What would you say would be your favorite moment of playing baseball, through your high school career? What was your number one favorite moment of all of it?
Well, there's a lot of. There was a lot of days where I had big days, but one of my favorite there's a lot of stories. I could tell you 1,000 stories. My wife would laugh at, because that's what I do. But one of my favorite was we were playing in a playoff game in high school in Illinois, and they played, and I came up in the top of the last inning and I hit a 3-run homer to give us the lead. And we're celebrating in the dugout. We're going crazy, and I was a catcher, so I'm putting on my gear, and the newspaper guy comes up behind the dugout. It was a chain link dugout. He comes up behind me. He starts asking me the questions for his story, his quotes he wants to use for the story. Mm-hmm. So I'm putting on there, and I'm answering his questions, and we go out. We have to hold them, right? Mm-hmm. So we go out there, and their first guy, we got a 1-run lead. Their first guy gets a single. And we're expecting him to bunt, and they bring up some guy that doesn't look like a baseball player. He's a big, heavy-set kid, left-handed. And, this is their bunter? That's what I'm thinking as the catcher. This is their bunter? Mm-hmm. And on the second pitch, he goes, bang, and hits a 2-run homer to beat us. So, wow. You walk off. It's game's over. Yeah. You walk off. And I hear now the newspaper guy goes to the other dugout, and he's asking the exact same questions he had asked me 10 minutes ago. I'm like, that isn't right. I was that close to being the headline on the story, and instead I was a loser. And our season was over. So that kind of stuff is crazy. But I was fortunate at Destrehan to have some really good players come through there. Mm-hmm. I got there in the era of whatever people in Destrehan call the Bo Jones era. Mm-hmm. He was the player of the year in the state his senior year. He was a first-round pick of the Atlanta Braves. He was 20 days from graduation. He got a check for $1.2 million.
Wow.
To play minor league baseball.
Wow.
I'm trying to get like that.
20 days after graduation. That's a lot of money, And he got selected, and it was, it was a fabulous experience. I coached a team that was number 2 in the country.
Right.
We were 33-1. We finished 33-2. We lost in the quarterfinals. We didn't even win the state championship.
Against who?
We lost to West Monroe, and they had the player of the year that year. That was the year before his. It was his junior year, and they had the player of the year. And baseball is really hard to win, especially the way the tournament is set up, because softball you can throw the same person every time.
Right.
Baseball you can't.
Why?
They even have pitching limits to protect their arms, because throwing a baseball is not a normal
it's
motion.
not a normal motion.
Okay, like softball is. And so they put pitching limits. Well, you got the number 1 player in the state. He can only pitch 1 game. You have to win 3 in 2 days. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to win. In football, I was at Destrehan when the Jeffersons came through, and Jordan Jefferson was our quarterback. Mm-hmm. Well, every football game, Jordan Jefferson got to be the quarterback.
Right.
That's not the case in baseball. So the best pitching staff and team, it just, I always felt like the best team didn't always win. I know that the best team didn't win in 2004 because I was the best team and we didn't win.
Right.
When we were 33-1. But it also gives that underdog a chance. And we talk about that with this team. with Luke Hemel is a excellent player,
Right.
and I've got plenty of excellent players on their way if they grow and mature and do their things. But right now, Luke is our guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he gives us a chance anytime he's on the mound to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And our playoff format was changed to like the girls, where it's single elimination. You lose any of your games, you're out. But they spaced him out where he can pitch almost every game. Well, I got a feeling, we call it a boxer's chance, I don't know if we'll have the best team, but we might have the best pitcher on that day and be able to win. So we're looking forward to our playoffs this year in that. We played our best team in district yesterday, Monday, against St. Martin's.
Right.
We won in the last inning, and that kind of set us up to win the district championship. I mean, it would have to be a huge upset from some of these other teams for us not to win it, now. But so that was our first goal, was to win a district championship.
Right.
And that happened. Now we get out of that, and Luke's complaining about his back, and the next thing you know, he's shelved for two weeks. He can't play. So we have to wait for him to heal,
Mm-hmm.
But we still have good players, and we're going to go out and battle and compete. We think we'll have a successful season, and they're learning and they're developing, and that's one of the parts of coaching that I missed when I got out.
Mm-hmm.
I could go to games, and I got a chance to coach a team out of Gonzales, of also basically an all-star team from EA, Dutchtown, and St. Amant. And
Yeah.
we played American Legion. We went to the World Series. We played on ESPN. That was a fabulous experience.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like prepping and preparing
Mm-hmm.
a team and watching players grow from younger to old. Now, at Riverside, we get them really young.
Yes.
100%.
Very young.
Way younger than I did at Desterham. So it's as a coach, you have to mindset. You have to say, slow down. These guys wouldn't even at Desterham, because of its size, they wouldn't even be on the varsity.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am out competing against 5A schools with guys that are in 7th, 8th, 9th grade.
Right.
Right now, 70% of my team is 9th, 8th, 9th, and 8th grade.
Really?
We only have 3 seniors and 2 juniors.
Hmm.
So you get 5 upperclassmen. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to be competitive with those big schools. Now, when
Mhm.
we get to 1A schools, we're hoping that'll change.
Right.
But we don't play a lot of them in the regular season because
Mhm.
you get bonus points for playing up. So you try to play the best teams you can that you can compete against.
Yep. So whenever you would move and things would change, did you see a real big difference in the food there? And did you really not like the food from some place compared to another place?
I'm going to tell you a story. I was living in California. My grandparents came to visit, and my aunt was with them. And they said, "Boy, we wish we had some crawfish. I wish they had some crawfish here." And I said, "They got crawfish." And they said, "Where you got crawfish at?" I said, "They got crawfish in the creek up the street." And they said, "You go catch us some crawfish." So I did. Okay. Never been to New Orleans before, other than to
Right.
be leaving when I'm 3. Never knowing what a crawfish boil looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I went out and caught 25 crawfish.
Okay.
Okay. And I brought them back. I was proud. I caught 25 crawfish. And they laughed at me. "Well, you can't even make a good cocktail out of this," my aunt said. And I'm like, well, I don't know what she's talking about. A couple years later, I came to my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary. And my grandfather took me to go get the crawfish, and he cooked them up. And when they poured it on the table, you've been to crawfish boil. What's 120 pounds of crawfish
So,
being thrown on the table?
Yeah.
Those 25, I understand why they laughed at me now, because at the time it didn't sink in. And then in California, every area has their own thing that's special.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In California, the Mexican food was fabulous. Of course there was a lot of Mexican American people there. Chicago had pizzas. Their big thing was pizza and steaks.
And
Midwest. The Midwest steaks were very good. matter of fact, most of the steak that comes down here is grown in the Midwest.
Hmm.
So, but then when you come here and you finally get the spices
Yeah.
and the seasoning that's used down here, there's no food like the food in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Nothing else compares.
That's my thing. I don't think I ever want to leave Louisiana just because of the food.
Well, I got lucky because I ate the other stuff before I got here. If I'd
Right.
had the reversal order,
Yeah.
I probably would have hated the food
Would
in
have been
Chicago and
miserable the whole
California.
time.
You know, but going this way. And then when I came here in '79. I met my first wife at school. She was a volleyball player,
Mhm.
and I met her, and I knew this was going to be where I'm going to live. You know,
Right.
I loved the area. She's a good lady. She is the godmother of my child that Miss Lyons and I have. So we do Christmases with her and her husband, Thanksgivings with my in-laws from my son's wife. You know,
Mhm.
so we are a big blended family even after divorce.
Mm-hmm.
We never really. She didn't really. How do you say this? I was never home. I was a coach.
Right.
I coached football and baseball.
Right.
Ran year round. I was never there. And her thing was, it wasn't that I was out in bar rooms or chasing women. I wasn't home. She just needed someone to be there with her. And I couldn't give her that as a coach, you
Mhm.
know. So she wanted to do something else. And we used, you know, our divorce was not, we weren't mad at each other. We just realized we couldn't live together.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't give her what she wanted, and you know, and I wanted to be a coach. I didn't want to be home at 5 o'clock for dinner. I wanted to be with the kids. I wanted to do what I did, and
Mm-hmm.
so it caused, you know, coaching. It takes a special woman to be the wife of a coach.
Speaking of a special woman, how did you meet Miss Laurie?
I met her. She was at a function for the Sugar Bowl. She was
Right.
on the Sugar Bowl committee, and they had their induction that night. And her and about 10 sports writers went out to get a drink, and I happened to be in the place they were at, and they introduced me to her because I was a coach,
Mm-hmm.
and they knew me as from coaching, and one of the guys who covered my school introduced me to her, so that's how we met.
Right.
And
Y'all just hit it off?
yeah, she was beautiful.
Right.
She liked sports. She thought it was cool I was a coach. It was important, you know.
Right.
Mhm.
And so we started dating, and she was covering this area. At the time, I was still with the rec department, you know. And then I got back into coaching a couple of years after we got married, you know. And we tried to have a child, and tried for about 6 years, and didn't have any success. And we ended up adopting a little girl at birth. We stood outside the delivery room, and that's our daughter. I know she's mentioned Laura many, many times. And,
Yes.
100%.
Many times. Yes.
as she's
Almost every single day.
Yeah. A lot.
as she's about to graduate from Northwestern, and she's their editor-in-chief of their school newspaper. So she's kind of following in her mom's footsteps.
So, you know, as a closing, this tends to be a trend in the recent podcasts. But what is your, have you had the Sicily's in La Place before?
Yes, many times before it closed. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say? Would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, where would it fall?
I liked going there because of the variety.
Right.
Not that it was.
Right.
Not that the
100%.
food was knockout. You know.
Yeah,
I
it wasn't
loved
the
this, yeah.
best. It was a very nostalgic thing for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
and I'm a lasagna
Mm-hmm.
kind of.
Yeah.
If you ask me what my favorite thing is, I would say lasagnas and
Lasagna.
breads and that kind of stuff. And you grab a couple pieces of pizza there.
Mhm.
But the killer at Sicily's was always, hey, you got to go get yourself some ice cream.
True.
That
is
soft
very
serve
true.
ice cream. Why that line would be
That
lying.
ice cream
You
was
know?
very. That was a very long line. Of one ice cream.
And if you wanted a salad, it was available to you. If you wanted something, it was available. You wanted soup, it was available.
Mm-hmm.
Even when my elderly mother came to live with us, she loved to go there.
Right.
Because she wanted to go, she'd get some soup and a salad. And
You could
a
just
couple pieces.
smash as much as you want.
Yeah, you can get as much
Yeah,
from whatever you want.
And And if you brought the kids,
The little arcade room in the back.
yeah,
They got a bunch of. Like,
it was a great atmosphere.
Right.
It really was, and it worked for families. And I don't know if the new place is going to be a family-oriented type like that.
Right.
But Laplace needs that.
Yes. That's
Mhm.
true.
We're supposed to be going on a field trip there.
I do remember that we did ask Miss Lyons if we could go there for a field trip, and I think we kind of convinced her, but I'm not sure yet. I think it needs a little more convincing.
You might have to get that cleared through Miss House.
Yeah, true. We might have to do that.
It doesn't work. She can say yes. She's got to get it by Miss House too.
That is,
I think you all need to do the attempt at Miss House, so it'd be easier for Miss Lyons.
yeah, we gotta ask Miss Hoss first. Though.
And,
All right.
And if you get it approved, I'll be glad to drive the van.
All right, good. We'll take your word on that. All right, well, this is going to be the closing to the episode 17 of the podcast. Anything else left to say, Coach Marty?
No, I just like we led with, Riverside's just a special place.
Right.
And from the outside, never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Never knew that walking in the door. Heard good things about Riverside, but when you're outside, you don't know. And once I came in, and everybody kind of took me under their wing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to meet all the Mickey Roussells and the people that made Riverside, that built Riverside. Because I've met a lot of the originals, the guys who put up the money,
Mm-hmm.
the guys who went out there and put up the buildings.
Right.
We just got the redone Rebel Den.
Mm-hmm.
The press box was redone. These are the same people that built it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mr. Judd built that.
Right.
And now he's coming back to fix it. But that's the Jeff Roussel. That's the kind of people that make this place special.
Right.
And a lot of even the older guys, their dads were the ones that put up the money to start the building.
Right.
And it was it had its connotation. And a lot of people thought it, from the outside, you look at Riverside and you say, man, what are they doing over there?
Mm-hmm.
But they were always competitive. They always worked hard. They
Mhm.
always had good teams.
Right.
Coach Roussel was, he's got 200 wins and brought him to the Dome 4 times.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. That's great tradition. So the traditions here, the baseball teams won 5 championships, 4 championships. And we're going to be the 5th. And
Yep.
there's a lot of positive energy in the building, and it's only getting better because I think Miss Haas is perfect for what we got, and
Yes.
and our numbers are growing, and the enthusiasm's back, and the community that left for a while is now coming back, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see it in the 3 years I've been here in the attendance at the football games, and you played, There were games we played where there hardly was anybody here. Now
It was like
the place
the
was
stands
packed.
were like dry bones,
Mm-hmm.
but now we got a whole tunnel
Yeah,
of
the
people
stands are
lining up
packed.
from the door of the Rebel Den to the goalpost.
Yeah, there's tunnels and everything before games and stuff. So
We had booster club meetings where there were 20 people.
mm-hmm.
Now there's 200 people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
At the booster club meeting, there were more people to help set up Coach Roussel's first golf tournament than there were at the quarterback club.
Mm-hmm.
And these were volunteers to work. So the energy's back.
Yeah.
The positive stuff's going to be. I'd like to stay around. I don't know. I'm 65 years old. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep doing this
Mm-hmm.
and keep up the energy that it takes to do it right.
Right.
But I'll certainly be a part of it and watch it and enjoy it because it's really on its way up. And I think Miss Haas has a lot to do with that. I think Coach Roussel's going to have a lot to do with that. And I'm just loving what's going on.
Yep.
And seeing the energy. So.
All right. Well,
All right.
thank you for being on today's episode, and have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thanks.